We got some news today on the Giants. Malik Nabers not expected to be available for the game this week. He is listed as out. We also have Devin Singletary listed as doubtful heading into this matchup. So
is he really
listed as doubtful? And so there's a couple key pieces here for this offense that the Giants are going to be without. And, they're going up against a tough Seahawks team and don't really have a whole lot of options. Outside of like Wan'Dale Robinson, who is, he's a line of scrimmage monster. And obviously played well last week. There's not a whole lot of options here. You got Darius Slayton, Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger at the tight end spot, Tyrone Tracy there in the backfield. Whole lot of miscellaneous options. Is there anybody that you're starting on this team, Tyler? Because outside of Malik Nabers, I haven't really want to start anybody, maybe like Wan'Dale at the flex.
No. So I actually posted a video early this morning talking about, I just see it. Devin Singletary, doubtful. I posted a video this morning saying, sit Devin Singletary. Well, it looks like you're going to be sitting Devin Singletary.
You'll be sitting him for sure this week.
You'll be sitting him. But the reasoning behind it is because Malik looked like he was trending out. And if Malik is out, I just don't want to start anybody from this offense because Malik is like this team's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. He's out. This offense is not going to be the same at all. And especially this offense, when you have a quarterback who Danny Dimes has not looked good really throughout his entire career. He's been pretty average. And now you take away his best weapon, his only weapon. And even Devin Singletary, he's okay. But you take him out, this offense is going to flow through Wan'Dale. And like you said, he's a good PPR machine because he's a low A-dot kind of guy close to the line of scrimmage. So he could be a decent play. But yeah, I just don't feel good about any of these guys. I would pick up What is it a hamstring issue? Is that what was going on?
I'm not sure what the Singletary issue was. Groin. Yeah,
groin.
Singletary issues are groin, but I think Wan'Dale is maybe flex worthy, probably a top 35 to 40 type start. Nothing that I would go crazy over, and just know he's more of a floor play. And then Tyrone Tracy probably offers some RB3 upside, but they got another. Was it Eric Gray is the other running back there? Yeah. I'm sure that they're going to work some kind of
split. Yeah,
and so I don't know if I fully trust Tyrone Tracy as a back, but we don't know how long Devin Singletary is going to be out, and sometimes that's the issue with fantasy.
Did he get hurt in this game, or was this a practice injury?
Well, he didn't practice. He didn't start the week off of practice, so he must have picked it up during the game or something and we'll have to take a look at that, obviously. But this is one of those things where you just never know how long something goes for. One can last for a couple of weeks. Kenneth Walker, remember, he came up with the oblique thing, and then he ended up being out for 2-3 weeks. So it's sometimes these injuries just pop up. And so I think Tracy, Eric Gray, there might be somebody in this backfield who becomes a flex-worthy type play. I wouldn't leave Tracy out there on waivers, but he's not somebody I'm rushing to pick up.
I would personally pick him up just in case, like you said. And it's also soft tissue. We know with soft tissue injuries, these injuries, he could come back next week and he could also re-aggravate it, and then he's out multiple weeks after that. So these are always injuries that I would personally just pick up Tyrone Tracy. And the other thing too is they play Cincinnati next week, and Cincinnati's defense has looked awful. So I personally would pick him up. And the other thing too is Malik Nabers has a concussion. It's probably likely that he's just going to miss this game, and then he'll be back the following week. So he'll be back there, and this team may be able to move the football. But I like Tyrone, so that's why I'm saying picking him up. Also, and it's just running backs. Anytime these running backs get opportunity, I think that they should be rostered. Trey Sermon, I don't care how bad, Cam Akers, Alexander Madison, these guys should be rostered because running backs that see volume are valuable in fantasy football, especially as the season progresses. Bye weeks happen, more injuries pile up. You got to have people who are actually playing, insert them in your starting lineup, especially if you have double flex. You got to be able to just get these guys in your lineup. So I don't in 12 team, he should be rostered majority of 12 teams going forward, just because this.
And this is one reason we talked about. I think you and I maybe even had this conversation. We talked about running backs. I want to get a little strategy talk here. We talked about running backs and how to draft them and why you're drafting for upside and when to hold them and when to get rid of them. And it's a very tough thing to do because it's not always the players that we're thinking of that will have opportunity, right? We're talking about guys like Cam Akers and Trey Sermon. But Tyrone Tracy was a guy, I know you even talked about him this offseason. I mentioned him briefly as having an opportunity. in the passing game, but it's like sometimes these players do emerge, and it's tough to keep these guys on your bench for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But we will see points where players become RB3 and flex worthy very quickly here. And to talk about just roster management, roster construction early, that's why you always want to have a couple loose pieces. Like, so that way, just in case things happen, you're not tied to players that you need to hold on to. Like, be flexible throughout the year, because there's really only one thing that I worry about, at least. And I don't know if you feel the same way. The only thing I'm really worried about is winning the championship. Like, straight up. I don't really care about the end season shit.
No, and I think like, and I talk about this a lot in the preseason, is I'll have my fair share of misses, like everybody does. And like for me though, the hardest thing as the season progresses to find on waivers is wide receivers. Like this is why a lot of people like to load up their team with wide receivers, because wide receivers are really hard to come by as the season progresses, because it's not like the thing is, and I've seen people talk about this, and it's just obvious if you like play fantasy football or know football, like a wide receiver isn't like a running back, right? Like a running back, when the guy, say Bijan Robinson goes down, I don't even want to use Bijan. We'll say Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor goes down.
Spare him anymore.
So Jonathan Taylor goes down. Trey Sermon is going to step in there. He's going to see volume. It's not like if Justin Jefferson goes down or Jordan Addison, like, and there's nobody else there, and it's Jalen Naylor, whatever that guy's name is. It's not like he's going to all of a sudden step in there and see volume. That's not how it works. Like wide receivers need to get open. They just hand the ball off to a running back, and that's the volume. So running backs are much easier to find, and like roster construction, in my opinion, comes down to like just having good wide receivers and then loading up the bench with the backup running backs, because like you said, you may not get a chance to use them, but if something happens to one of these guys, they go down and you have their backup, they're all of a sudden just thrusted into the starting role where they could be an RB2, and that's all you need. I mean, look at Trace, or not Trace Sermon, Jordan Mason.
Jordan Mason,
I mean,
yeah.
He's probably going to be a league winner this year if he ends up holding on to that job, and it's like somebody that you picked up off of waivers just because the guy in front of him goes down. Obviously, it's an elite offense, but you see this all the time. So load up the back end of your roster with running backs and just churn it throughout the season.
And it's one of those things where I think it's easy to be like, man, I like these players, and there's talent in the league, man. You want to hold on to guys, but like players get hurt, situations change, your roster looks different. So you got to be able to say, you know what, maybe. And that's why I think it's so hard for me to move off of the elite players in fantasy. Like I don't want to sell a Breece Hall. I don't want to sell a Bijan Robinson. I don't want to sell these guys that have proven it year after year in hopes that I can find the guy that's performing now, because we typically see things change very quickly in the NFL. And here it is with Chiron Tracy. We're talking about a guy that like is probably not rostered in more than 5% of leagues, I would say. Like he's been thrown back to waivers, and now he has a very high probability of being like a flex option RB3 for at least a week or two. So I don't think these are players, like my point isn't like I think these guys will stick and that they're, you obviously need to hold on, but it's like I think you need to be fluid in your thoughts through the course of a fantasy season and play for 3 weeks. You play for 3 weeks, 15, 16, and 17. Win your fucking championship. Because you have bad takes. I have bad takes. You have bad takes. One of my bad takes is Zamir White. He is now out. He is listed as doubtful this week.
Is he really?
He's dealing with the groin injury. Just seen it right now. The news came out. Ian Rappaport reports that Zamir White is dealing with a groin injury, and he is doubtful. So we got additional opportunity for a guy that we all shit on last year. Alexander Madison now back in the flex RB3 radar. Another reason why you don't panic when it comes to these players, man. Things change very quickly.
You know who I think becomes interesting in that?
Because I'm
going to say it. I'm going to say Dylan Laube.
Oh my God.
I'm going to say Dylan Laube. The reason why I'm going to say Dylan Laube, though, I think Zamir White is just not very, very good.
Yeah, he's had his chances.
And the other thing too is like they're still using Amir Abdullah. Like I guess maybe Dylan Laube just sucks. Like if you can't beat out Amir Abdullah and see, it also comes down to like coaches trusting players, right? Like we've talked about this before.
Yes.
Coaches just trust certain players. They'll go to certain players, but I'm not saying pick up Dylan Laube at all. He's just a name that I would put in the back of my mind because this Raiders team, they're 2-2. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks, but they're a team that, this running back situation is not good. These guys don't perform.
It's a shitty team. The Raiders, for the record, this is a shitty football team.
So
I thought they were.
I don't
I
want
didn't
to
even
say
realize they were 2-2. To be honest with
I
you,
think they're two. I think they're 2-2.
yeah, they're either way. They're not a good football team, and we see them business decisions and all that. We know Devontae Adams is probably out there. It feels like this might end up being a
They're
losing
2-2.
season. Yeah, I don't know
That's
how to
crazy.
play. It feels like they've been
Well, they beat
0-4.
the Ravens somehow.
Ravens. Yeah, they
I
beat the
don't know
Ravens.
how. So, but yeah, like if they are a shitty team, which I think they're a shitty team, um, I think that Dylan Nalby also comes into play because you get to that certain point in the season where it's like, hey, season's kind of lost. Let's see what we got in these rookies. Obviously, running back, you're not going to draft a high end running back, but you're going to need some running back next year because these guys that you have aren't it. So let's see what Dylan Nalby offers. And he's a guy that just like pass catcher, very good pass catcher. So not somebody I'm saying pick up. Just back in your mind, somebody in the know, put it on your watch list, see what happens.
Yeah, I'm staying away. These Raiders. There's a couple teams I'm starting to stay away from right
The
now.
Raiders
Like
are